Welcome back. In this video series, we're covering 20 key activities to guarantee successful employee onboarding. Again, these are tips that don't require a lot of ability. These are just things that you can take ownership of, you and your team. It's a team effort. And you can make that first day for a new hire or employee wonderful, or way better than if you don't do these things, right? And again, you never have a second chance to make a first impression. So I want to encourage you to consider all of these things. And before we get started, click the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, hit the alert button so that you're notified of future content. And I will leave a playlist link in the description of this video so that you can share that with somebody that you feel may benefit from hearing this video or the series itself. And if you haven't checked out the other video series, click on that playlist after this one and go through and check those out as well. Covering number 6 and 5 on this video. Number 6, invite new employee to all required meetings before day 1. So typically what will happen if you're doing your job, and I covered the credentials in the last video, which you can click on after this video and listen to that piece too, but you can get a head start and make sure either their manager, if you're not their manager, but if you are, that you know ahead of time what meetings they need to attend, right? And then get those on the calendar on day 1 so that they know what's going on. And again, typically if you're, again, getting those credentials ahead of time, you should be able to add them, see them in Outlook and forward those meeting notices so that they have them and they're queued up and they're ready to go. There is nothing worse as a new employee or new hire where you're sitting there and you either get a call or an IM or an email saying, hey, are you going to join this meeting? And they have no idea that they were supposed to be there. No one clued them in that they should be or that they should be part of this. As the hiring manager or team lead or whatever that looks like, be proactive so that they at least know and that they're not going to be surprised that they should be attending something. Even if they sit in and listen, and that's all that you're expecting of them, just put that little note when you forward it to them. It's so much better to do that versus having them get that, like I said, instant message or that call. And then it also makes them feel productive from day 1 in terms of knowing what's ahead of time, right? They can click on the meeting link. Maybe there's materials in there. Maybe there's a link to a team site or a SharePoint site that they can do some due diligence ahead of time and get up to speed and then hit the ground running a little bit better than if they hadn't been invited to those meetings ahead of time. So again, something that takes you about 10 minutes. You can look out 2 weeks until they get their sea legs underneath them, and they'll have a much better experience if they have that on their calendars. Number 5, give the employee and the manager a target completion date for the onboarding checklist to be completed. We've all been there. If you're a department or a team that has a checklist, and if you don't, I talked about that in another video as well, but you have one and maybe you need to update it, that's another one as well. But make sure that you give them a target date for completion, because a lot of times what will happen is you have that onboarding checklist and maybe it's not really, emphasize that it's important to complete all those things, right? And you as the manager, you should put a completion date on yourself for yourself as well. You should have a touch base, by the way, at the end of the target completion date to review everything and make sure your employer, your new hire, has all their questions answered. Maybe you did assign them a peer or a peer mentor or a direct mentor that will help them through this. But you should have a touch base about 2 and maybe 2 to 4 weeks into the starting their job to make sure that this stuff is getting completed, that you've done your part to make sure that they're getting through this list and that you've not left anything off. And then touch base with them. Make sure that there's no questions. If they haven't done something, maybe they don't understand what the request was on there. Maybe you need to update that checklist so that it's more clear. Anyway, I think it's just important to do that. You should have those touch points with your employees, frequently. They want to hear the feedback. They want to know how they're doing. Everybody does. Everybody wants to get feedback, good or bad, and it depends on how you phrase it. But everyone wants to improve and do better. But you've got to set those times of communication up and establishing that cadence early on with them, and it helps them know that you have an open door policy, that you're there to help them, be better and work through any questions that they have. But again, what you should also do, if you're going to also schedule those meetings ahead of time, just drop it on the calendar for the touch base in terms of, did we complete the checklist, and keep yourself honest with that as well. We're going to end the video here. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, click the thumbs up, and click the alert button so you're notified of future content. I will share the playlist link in the description of this video, and feel free to share that with anybody that might need to hear this. And we will talk to you at the next video.